Yo, what's going on, everyone? I have a new XRP scenario here on the local timeframes that could be one of the most important developments in recent price action history that could bring us up to $20, possibly even before 2026. This means that the dotted path that we have been disregarding for months could now finally be summoned, but ultimately, we are still bounded by two scenarios, and this is why the original path we also discussed as a possible flat idea is still on the table, as the $4 resistance is going to be the ultimate test. It's just that now that we have more data coming into the markets, our alternative mega bullish path, this dotted path, is now just becoming more relevant as an option. And this is, of course, all in the lens of the Elliott Wave Theory. So please sit back and listen to the whole video. It's going to be very important. And if you haven't already, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you want more XRP updates like this, I do listen to everyone's voice, so that is going to be very important. Thank you very much. Now, the reality is we've been chopping here locally for not only XRP, but for Bitcoin as well. Nothing new about that, but it's all for the better cause, in my opinion. The most important thing is that these two corrective structures are respecting support zones, and there's a clear underlying bidding war being observed, market manipulation at best, right? So let's forget about all the geopolitics that's happening right now. It's a pretty busy world right now. It's all just pre-programmed into the price action, in my opinion, and the wave theory is just justifying these wave counts even more as we are looking for how this wave 1-2 is going to be concluding. We just need that one small window of opportunity from all the fundamental side of things to really push the price up. So one of the biggest challenges right now is navigating correlation against independence with XRP or any other coin for that matter. And I think it's clear that XRP is working independently on the macro. On many days, XRP is clearly following Bitcoin's movements, just like we are doing right now. Whether it's a breakout, a pullback, or just general consolidation, we're seeing similar behavior across the board in times of consolidation like we are seeing right now. So this is good because if Bitcoin is still showing that we are able to go for higher levels, just like I explained in the macro perspective on the previous video, this just means that XRP is also ready to do that as well, but we'll just do it more violently. It'll be more pronounced, in my opinion. So the bullish or macro bullish implications for XRP is still the same. It's uber bullish. There's nothing bearish about the current structure locally on the macro when it comes to pure logical approach. There's no reason, absolutely no reason to apply subjectivity here, and anything and everything you may hear from the bears right now on X or social media or whatever are mostly from an emotional approach. Now, that doesn't go to say that they're wrong if they have the proper context of a bear scenario, especially from other Elliottians. But we just don't have any high probable bearish scenarios for the time being. And that being said, the larger context of the bullish structure just remains in the same pattern, which is a larger wave 4 triangle that has completed. Look, we did a 7-year accumulation and the breakout was only done in a few weeks of a time span back in December. And this current pullback we are having right now is something I discussed over and over, right? It's not only necessary, but vital for a healthy continuation. And we did call for that. And if you go back to all of our calls for XRP from months ago, they played out very, very nicely with little margin of error on the macro. I even called for this 1-2 pullback. And surprisingly, the bears were still not satisfied with that pullback that I've been trying to call for. This is precisely what we have been looking for. And lo and behold, we have already gotten the necessary component of the first assumption of a completed correction. Now, can this develop into something else? Absolutely. As time went on, I started to introduce another high probable scenario, which is this flat idea, where we may consolidate even further into 2026 before a major pop. Why? Because logically, the keyword logically is that the $4 regions still remains a major resistance. We will have to reassess at those levels later. Until then, we must focus on the general direction of the medium timeframes and see what trading and buying the dip opportunities await for us. And right now, the shorter time frames is still indicating that we are going to be attacking the $4 regions. So with that being said, let's zoom in and talk about the scenarios. If we go into the first scenario that we have here, the uber bullish scenario, since that is the main topic, we want to be talking about how XRP is actually going to even break out and what kind of support levels are going to be making for us during this current time of trading. Now, remember, the micro timeframes for XRP has always presented us with insane market inefficiencies, but as long as you have the right context, the Elliott Wave Theory can be forgiving as long as you respect all of the rules and guidelines to the best of your ability. There are going to be some obscure symmetry possibly going on for some of these accounts, which does introduce subjectivity. But overall, as long as you have the right context of the medium and the larger macro timeframes, these ideas can still play out to what we have been talking about previously, where a lot of market inefficiencies were happening, but the overall implications have played out correctly. And that, in hindsight, really did turn into what was the proper count. So as you can see here, the first component that we have here, again, we're just really trying to figure out whether this wave 1-2 is complete. So this first idea is that this wave 1-2 is now complete. Nothing has changed about the structure here. The implications is still showing us that we were in a double correction, a double zigzag, that is, an ABC into a W, and a WXY for an X, another ABC going into a wave Y. It's pretty clear. The market manipulation was pretty clear here at this point because we did get rejected quite nicely, symmetrically as well, from all these ratioed wave counts. This WXY, for example, 100%. Is that a self-fulfilling prophecy? Absolutely. ABC, all equal in length. That just gives us that proper approach that this was more corrective than it was impulsively. So this overall here, the macro implications of this WXY, in my opinion, is that first component that we're looking for whether this is a completed wave 1-2 or that larger flat idea, which I will discuss in just a second. So this move here, it's quite subjective. I'm also on the side of things how this could be counted, but if we're going to work for the uber bullish count, now that we have a little bit more data, there's a few ways that we can count this. We can count this as even a possible leading diagonal going into a wave 1 or some kind of ABC that's going to be part of that corrective structure. So really, there's just a few ways on how we can count this. I think even there's ways of counting this as a possible diagonal of a leading diagonal. It just doesn't have the best look, but there are ways. And I think this leading expanding diagonal going into wave 1 is also a possibility. Now, all the rules have been met. This wave 1 is quite long against the ratio of these waves, but the rules and guidelines are being met, right? And very interestingly enough, on the macro, we have seen many leading expanding diagonals for XRP, and they've all played out in hindsight as well. So is that going to be something that's going to be playing out here? Possibly. XRP is notorious for choppy price action, so this is also a possibility here going into that first wave 1. Why? Because the next move here, in the context of what we should be looking for in the follow-up, is also showing possible corrective price action as long as we stay above this protected low here at the $1.60 regions. And if that happens, this could be turning into another corrective structure as a WXY, another round of pricey chop action, another conclusion here, and that should be the resolution for a larger wave 3 to the upside. And that's just the beginning of what could be a possible primary wave 1 before we go for a wave 2 and then 3, 4, 5 of the higher degrees. So that's the first scenario, and I think the second scenario is pretty much the same idea for how we're going to be looking at it. There's nothing new about this. If you're looking at it from a corrective nature structure, again, the logical nature of this is still that we're going to be working for the general direction to the upside. If you're seeing this as a possible A, B, and then a C here, and then this here, this is really difficult. So many overlaps here, most likely as a WXYZ. Whether this WXYZ is completed here because we didn't breach this region low here, but if we actually do move up, this is not going to be good for the mega bullish scenario because we do want one more low to be created, rip that band-aid off, and then we can go for that mega bullish scenario. But if that doesn't happen, we're going to have to keep reverting back to this flat idea. So if it stays above these regions here and it doesn't actually break to a new low, this could give us a scenario where we may just be working for that larger flat idea and it's still working correctively. It's just more of a timing issue here than anything else. But if we don't break it, then that means that we have to continue to work with a WXY scenario for this larger B wave of this flat. And if that happens, okay, at least we'll get that larger $4 higher level, but we're going to be looking for a full retracement of this entire range. But again, both implications of these scenarios is still showing us a larger move to the upside regardless. It's just whether we're going to get a shorter time frame pullback now and then go for that move, or we go for that higher move first, retrace the whole move, and then go for the higher level, which gives us that larger distribution that we're looking for that wave 1, 2 of that flat idea. So to summarize everything, to go back into that bullish triangle, this is how we create that necessary puzzle for how this wave 1, 2 could be playing out. Do we have a wave 1, 2 being complete here, or are we still working for a larger wave 1, 2 as a flat idea? I'm kind of both sides. It's really dead even 50-50% in my opinion right now on which one is going to happen, just because we aren't retesting these levels just yet. I really want these levels to be retested first before we can reassess anything. But for now, I think that we are looking for, in the context of things, we can summon that uber bullish scenario because it is now starting to become more relevant. Or if we get rejected out of the $4 regions, come back down and retrace the whole move for this wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But again, going back to our videos, this doesn't change the overall implication of what is happening here, ladies and gentlemen. The overall context of things still lies and remains in that idea that we have a completed large 7-year accumulation triangle, and we're looking for further higher levels, possibly into double-digit $20, $30, $40, $50 per XRP, maybe going into 2026 or Q1 of 2026. So these two scenarios, ladies and gentlemen, it's just giving us further confidence. And remember, we need conviction sometimes. And right now, all of our convictions have played out pretty darn nicely until we are proven wrong for a possible bearish reversal. And if it comes too late, then we're not going to be prepared for what could be happening in store for us for that larger wave 3 to the upside. But again, we are late into the late stage of the bull market. I think that we are now just completing for this 5th wave. And this, in my opinion, will be that last parabolic move to the upside before we go for that larger extreme bearish kind of 80 to 95% type of bear market pullback. Right now, I still do think that we are very well within bullish territory until proven otherwise. There's no reason to be assuming a bearish scenario, but the bears, we have to give them props because they've been shorting the way up the whole time, and they are what provides the liquidity to the markets. So thank you very much. Hopefully that was helpful. I will see you guys in the next video. And again, one friendly reminder to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you want more XRP videos. And again, we do offer a Discord membership if you are interested in joining. Don't hesitate to reach out to me, and the links in the description below. We also do offer our Patreon where I do 2 updates a week for Bitcoin. If you're interested in that, links are also in the description below. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a fantastic rest of the week. Bye-bye.